Okay, we've done a little soul banking now, so I feel a lot less edgy. That said, you can kind of see that we, like, these snakes give out, I think, 500 souls a pop, so it's, you know, you never really have to worry too much. You can farm out relatively easily here in Sen's Fortress. The best way to deal with this guy, honestly, with my current weapon set, is probably just to stagger him. Using the repeated repeated heavy swings. This is an area that really forces you to get good at, like, understanding your weapon and understanding what it will do to big enemies. I feel like the snake people were really designed to make you pay attention to your weapon's moveset. That's really the best way that I could put that. And let's also just say that this place just keeps escalating. Consider that there is a magical fucker on the other side of this, shooting electricity straight at you as you go down a hallway filled with axes. Yeah, like, I wasn't even gonna go there, specifically because I was expecting them to throw a knockback spell at me. One thing you may not have noticed from before, these guys are considerably weaker, but they do have big fucking shots like that. So, now another level design thing. You'll notice the raised platform right here, but if you're not really paying attention, the first thing you might notice is the chest. So, walk straight forward, especially after you had a fight that took up all of your attention, and you will get shot, and you will probably die. Sen's Fortress is very much designed to play on your expectations, like, even more so than a lot of other areas in the game. The chest is quite useful, though, with its 2 large Titanite shards. So, you look at this place, and you can tell it's definitely fallen into disrepair. Like, these suits of armor, that one, yeah, seems to have had its head cut off, and they're all, like, knocked over. Despite the fact that it's called a proving ground, it's fairly easy to tell that this place is not the way it originally was. Also, that guy looks like he's sleeping. Let's not bother him. Oh, hello there. Oh. Hello there. So this is another really good game designy kind of thing. Your attention is initially pulled over to the... How did I not hit that fucker? Your attention is pulled over to the snake person, but the game, in feeling a need to be fair to you, lets you watch him get run over by the boulder rather than running you over. A big part of Sen's Fortress right here is this boulder maze. I mean, maze is maybe not the right word for it, but you do have to learn how to navigate a boulder or two. If we head over this way to where the boulders fall down, there is just a bottomless pit, so do be careful. A few more Sneeples. Two of them, in fact, but for once, the narrow ledge here actually works in our favor. Also, I thought I got my shield up. I just didn't get it up quickly enough. I do also love that these guys have a grab attack followed by a follow-up, because I think this is the first enemy in the game that really has that. But over this way, we find Siegmeyer.
Oh ho! Ah, where did you come from? Splendid news, I tell you.
And what might that be, Siegmeyer?
To my fight. Yes, indeed. I've run up against a wall, or a ball, to be precise. I'm afraid I'm a bit too tough to be out running those things. So here I sit in quite a pickle, but who knows? Perhaps we'll have another development.
Perhaps we will.
Perhaps I could try some rolling. Bah, no chance. My head would spin.
So I do quite like that conversation, because it's both like a tutorial of sorts, but then also kind of, you know, your second meeting with Sigmire.
Perhaps, bah.
You know, it's really well done in the context of the game. To say, hey, you know, we could help you get across this is probably a good way to help you get across this, but also kind of tell you about Sigmire as a character. It's basically try running. If you're cutting it real close, maybe try rolling. You can actually often lure the guy who's out there over to you, but not always. But then it also tells you about Sigmire himself, you know. The first time we met him, he was sitting in front of a gate waiting for it to just open. He wasn't going out and solving his problems, you know, like, we opened that gate for him. The second time, pretty much the same. We get the Ring of Steel protection for our troubles, which is quite a useful ring if you're playing a low defense, like a light armor character, because it gives you physical attack resistance without, you know, heaviness. This ring belonged to the Night King Rendell. It grants its wearer protection by boosting defense against physical attacks. Of the many legends surrounding the Night King Rendell, one of the more well-known speaks of his standing down a giant drake and slashing it to pieces. So if we look at our status, it just gives a flat bonus, and quite a sizable one, to physical defense. So, again, certain areas in the game it's quite useful. I think I'll take my poise, though. Once again, more of this place in disrepair. You can really tell that this was not originally home to the Sneeple. Also, the snake people have ridiculous ragdolls. Just FYI. Alright, come over here, and if you're observant, you'll notice the trap. If you're very observant, you'll notice it's behind you. The game really plays with your expectations here. Also, the Sneeple cannot actually trigger the traps. Oh, really? So I was hit in the back with one of them, and I went to go for an Estus, and the snake slashed through the wall to kill me. That's a bit horseshit. Ugh. Maybe we should have been human. That definitely was the problem. So yeah, I'm not 100%, you know, I haven't really completely decided how I'm going to show this place off, or really how much of it I'm going to cut out. Because you do end up making the same trip quite often. There's one main path, and one big difference between Sen's Fortress and a lot of other areas is that even the well-hidden bonfire that you're able to locate eventually is really far in. Like, there isn't really a way to... There isn't really a safe place. You really have to get one perfect run through, like, 80% of this place to actually be able to beat it. So, I'll definitely be cutting out portions of this, depending on how much I die. Like, probably right now. Oh, interesting side note. The snake that originally appeared here does not actually appear again. It's a one-time enemy, I guess, to be a tutorial on how this whole boulder thing works. So if we can. Good. Good. Honestly, the way that I would recommend doing this here, rather than the somewhat brash way I did it, is to lure the guy back out into this room. You have a lot more room to fight. One thing I really like about Sen's Fortress is that it really tries to challenge every kind of player build. Because you have that like battle on that really thin hallway, for example, that you kind of need to be chuffy enough and able to stand your ground to beat. But then they also have the battle, or they also have battles in like big rooms like this where you can really dodge around things. And yes, we got a Man-Serpent Greatsword. I love the Man-Serpent Greatsword. The best way to deal with this is honestly just to just to tank the hits like that. So, I may have been talking over it, and it may be tough to hear, but there was a bit of a gear shifting noise over there. And what that was actually the path of the boulders being changed. So that now, instead of going out of that hill, they're going down this hallway. So, you can totally outrun these boulders if you try, or you can totally run up the boulders, but you really can't outrun them. In the sense that if you do that, you're going to have to tank at least one boulder. Incidentally, there is a giant pit over here. And if we wait long enough, it's not bottomless. So I think if I stand over here, it should be alright. There we go. Yep, you can see it's slowly filling up. My character's leg is kind of freaking out because I'm standing on one brick and one almost brick. There we go. It's filled up. One important thing to learn is that the boulders in Sen's Fortress are your friend. They're big and strong, and they will help you get various items that you would not actually be able to otherwise. Covetous Serpent Ring is the item ring, or the item drop ring. It boosts the discovery of items. The serpent is an imperfect dragon and symbol of the undead. Its habit of devouring prey, even larger than itself, has led to an association with gluttony. This gold ring, engraved with the serpent, boosts its wearer's item discovery, so that more items can be amassed. I really like that, associated with the undead. I really like that I was not close enough to that. That's horseshit. I really like that statement about how serpents are imperfect dragons, quote unquote. Oh dear. I thought there was supposed to be a ledge there, so that was my mistake. Oh dear. I'm pretty sure those souls are lost. Let's never speak of them again. Well, fuck. Okay, as I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted and murdered multiple times. What was I saying before I was so rudely interrupted and murdered multiple times? I've completely lost it. Oh well. That said, we're gonna go up a little bit, but not quite for the reason you might think. Because you can actually dive out of the way of the giant boulder and end up in an area that you wouldn't necessarily ever get to. large soul of a proud knight, which is like, that's neat, that's cool. There's quite a bit more left in this area. In fact, there's a whole Black Sorcerer set. And the Sorcery Hush as well. So let's take a look at that real quick, since I think we're more or less safe. Now, these were the clothes that Griggs was wearing. The different sorcerer set from the one that we have. Hat worn by the secret sorcerers at Vinheim Dragon School. They secretly work with sound-based spells and never reveal themselves. So this sort of tells us that maybe Griggs wasn't being entirely honest with us about his choice to follow Master Logan. This is the sort of thing that you only really get out of item descriptions and that doesn't necessarily come to anything. But I think it's a really neat kind of like implication that tells you a lot about his character that you never learn otherwise. Hush is a sorcery developed by a certain surreptitious sorcerer at Vinheim Dragon School. Masks all noises of the caster. Effectively, Vinheim is controlled by the Dragon School, and it is no wonder that the town has its share of dark secrets. Oh, that's really good. Is there anything else over here? Because I might actually go back the other way. Sen's Fortress is quite a maze in, I guess, a much more constructed way than Blighttown is. This door here, does this lead to the... No, I think this is actually its own area. So actually, let's just explore over this way. I can't even remember if there's, like, anything useful over here. Oh god, I'm gonna end up back in the pit, aren't I? It's back in the pit with me, isn't it? Isn't it? Why, yes, I recognize this. I'd recognize those swinging blades anywhere. Well, at least for our troubles, we get a Slumbering Dragon Crest ring, which I believe is also something that Griggs sells. Right. Certain school, ring engraved with the everlasting dragon in silent slumber, and masks all sound emitting from the user. So it's basically a permanent version of Hush, is what it comes down to. That said, we are more or less back where we started, so I'm going to jump ahead again. Oh, weird. These things reset. Huh. I'm not sure why they did that. Interesting. Alright, so let's go back to the path we were originally on before we met an unfortunate end in a pit. So we run over this way, chase after that boulder because we know there's another one coming for us, and make our way to this door. Now, this is one of the more infamous traps in the game, and I guess I've lost messages because there's normally a fuck ton of them over here. But, this chest is sort of just sitting around here, and it's got quite a fancy padlock that I don't believe other chests tend to have. And if you really look at that lid, you might notice that it's moving just a little bit. That's right, this is a mimic. I really love, A, how fucking freaky these things are, but B, the restraint that Dark Souls has, in that it sort of like teaches you through almost half the game that chests are safe, chests are fine, and as anyone who has played Dark Souls knows, mimics are real fuckers. They also tend to space these things out quite a bit, so that you have just enough time to not remember that you really shouldn't just open any chest all willy-nilly. So this chest will almost always trap new players unless they're like, wait a minute. And I really love that. That's one of those super Dark Soulsy moments. Another thing, this elevator's covered in blood. I wonder why. Let's not find out, because that thing goes right up into that. Yeah, I think you can see him. Hall of spikes right there. Nice. Yeah, that elevator will kill you if you're not paying enough attention and don't get up on it. Oh yeah, the spear that we got is actually just a normal spear with a lightning enchantment. As you can see, it actually has the exact same description as a normal spear. So we can't actually get the lightning enchantment yet, and this is kind of the game's way of giving you one. Incidentally, this is actually the area where we found, yeah, the set of armor that Griggs had. If you come at it from this direction, the door is actually going to be locked, so you have to take that little side path there to get it. That said, I know what these round-ish things are. Yes, we have arrived in the Boulder Room.